Good evening. I'm here to introduce someone who I am proud to call my dad, Michael Shea. Some of you know him from AIM. Between working on his own film projects and volunteering to help make many ideas a reality, and working as an economist, and dealing with me, my dad has had a lot on his plate. But he still found room for two more things to do, and that was work on multiple committees and run for the important position of school board. But why, you may be asking, will my dad join all these committees? Because if there is one way to describe my dad, it is that he wants to help people. An example of this is one time when we were at Salisbury during my angsty middle school years when my dad dragged me over to do camera work for a piece of teachers spending their summers, their time off, learning how to become better teachers. I personally just wanted to get to the beach, and it was 35 minutes away. I thought that he was just using my vacation time, but it turns out he was also using his, and he took some time off to make sure that these teachers got their voices out to others. All he said when I asked him to go to the beach was that this was an important issue. And I never really understood it, but now I do. So please welcome my caring and my hero, Michael Shea.
Wow. Thank you. The first thing I want to do is say aloud what I think is on everyone's mind. Yes, Matthew gets his good looks from his mother, and he's lucky for it. Fellow Democrats, fellow Arlingtonians, and for the 22% of you who also have kids in the school system, fellow APS parents. My name is Michael Shea, and I am a candidate for the Democratic endorsement for school board. I want to tell you very briefly what I would do on the school board. I don't want anyone to leave here tonight being unclear about what I would do. I would advocate for problem-based and project-based learning and the new Arlington Tech program. I would advocate for APS to evolve toward a culture of open data and better communications. And I would advocate for new designs for our new buildings and for our renovations. What we need to do is rethink what schools look like from the outside, because we have to remember the important thing is getting things right on the inside for our students. Over the next few months, I will talk about all those things in great detail. I worked for a short while as a substitute teacher many, many years ago when I was a lot younger, and I learned firsthand what an incredibly exhausting job it was. I was living with my parents at the time, and I came back from a day of teaching third graders, and I pulled up in the driveway and I fell asleep. And my mother came out like hours later. She thought she almost called 911. So I know what a tough job it is, and I also want to work hard to get the endorsement of the Arlington Education Association. Now, my father was a lifelong educator, and watching him as the principal of a middle school and also high school is what really enabled me to see how great schools reach all of their students, how they inspire them. Actually, I base a lot of how I approach filmmaking on how I watched him work as a principal, which probably explains a lot of my relative lack of success as a filmmaker. But many years ago, I was working in New York City. I was an economist, and my father brought in a whole group of 8th graders for on a field trip. And I met them for lunch, and I really noticed it really wasn't a big enough crowd to be the whole 8th grade. But he explained it was those kids who don't get involved much. It was those kids who aren't the honor roll, they aren't the theater kids, they aren't the jocks. And in most schools, when you fly below the radar, you really aren't noticed. But my father noticed them and figured out a way to do something for them. Because every student needs that recognition, every student needs that support. And then a couple of years ago, I've been doing a lot of things with Arlington Independent Media. And I noticed our local media doesn't tend to cover much beyond high school football, high school basketball. So I started up a program to basically give a spotlight to the students who are pursuing excellence in so many different ways. We've done 60 programs, more than 60 programs. We've had over 30,000 YouTube views at this point, because every student needs that recognition, every student needs that support. If you've been out to different high schools, competitions over the last 2 years, you may have seen a strange man who's under the bleachers just trying to find somewhere to plug in a camera. That's usually me. And we've had so much awesome work from other volunteers on this project that I'm very proud of it. I know I'm getting into this campaign very late. I've talked to some people, and they've told me they've heard that I'm running for the first time, and they've said they're already supporting Nancy Van Doren and Tanya Talento. And I tell them I totally understand that because they're both terrific candidates. They both have done a lot of great things for our schools. But then I remind them I'm not asking for their support. I'm asking for their vote. So in May, whether you've supported me or not, I want to be very clear. I welcome your vote. Thank you.